know you play to win the game. You don't play to just play it.
What's that? Playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.
Get out there, play hard, enjoy those games.
Welcome in to Go Big or Go Home. I am the irritated old man, joined by the calm, cool, collected youngster Kevin Cunningham, a.k.a. Kid Cunny on Twitter. What's happening, my friend?
What the hell, Troy? That's ridiculous. Just kidding. Like you said, cool, calm, collected. It's how I try to live my life. Not too much. I'm good.
Wait till you're 50.
Maybe. We'll see. I got up early today, like you did. Went to work, came home, did my homework for this show, and I am ready to talk about the top three teams in the Big Ten East from a year ago. So.
Yeah, I was ready to talk about those teams, too, 4 hours ago.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's why I'm a little irritated. And then we're going to start the show, and then people in all of God's great earth decided they all wanted to call at one time. Delayed us once again. Then we tried to log into the show. Our own recording studio denied us recording access. But we're all good now. Thank you to
fault. Yes.
No. It is the, what do they call that? It would be the server, or it would be the host of it. But no, our great sponsor, Interbeat Coffee, check them out. InterbeatCoffee.com, free shipping to your door on coffee products. And they have much more than coffee. Check it out. InterbeatCoffee.com. Youngster, let's just get into it. Big Ten football actually starts tomorrow. There's a game tomorrow.
Yeah. We're recording this show on August 27th. Check out thegruelingtruth.com for hopefully all of our previews, season previews are up there. The last I checked, they were not. Hopefully by this time, obviously, if you're listening, then hopefully they're all there. But yeah, thegruelingtruth.com is kind of our home base for this Go Big or Go Home show. It's literally college football is right around the corner. It is in, I don't know if it's more than or less than 24 hours. It might be slightly more than 24 hours from now. Big Ten football starts in a day. So, again, we're recording the show on Friday, August 27th, and we are previewing the top three Big Ten East football teams from a year ago and what they might look like in 2021. Starting first, not at the top, but at the bottom, quote unquote, in third last year in the Big Ten East was Penn State. Usually, Penn State doesn't finish third. Usually, you would assume if Penn State does finish third in this division, it's Michigan in second and Ohio State in first, but that was not the case. Indiana was second. Ohio State was first. We'll talk about those two teams, obviously, right after Penn State. But it was also odd that Penn State finished third, and they were very close to playing in the Big Ten championship game a year ago. Part of that is because Indiana had some issues trying to, stay away from COVID during that time, and Ohio State had played 5 games to that point, and the Big Ten said, actually, it's Ohio State. They're 5-0. They're Ohio State. They're ranked, I don't know what they were at the time, first, second, third, whatever in the country. So they're deserving. They are able to play. They're deserving of going to the Big Ten title game. But it was very close that Penn State at 4-5 was going to go to the Big Ten championship game to play Northwestern a season ago. Unfortunately for Penn State, that did not happen. But last year, Penn State, I'll get into that in a second. This is year 8 for James Franklin. His 4-5 record was his worst statistical record, win percentage, however you want to say it, his worst record as a head coach, period, dating back to his days at Vanderbilt. So 4-5, obviously not what you're looking for. I give James Franklin 100% of a pass for going 4-5 last year, because last year was crazy. There are some programs, some coaches, some teams where I don't give them a pass. Not all is created equal, but for James Franklin and what he has done at Penn State, what he has built at Penn State to recover from what he inherited, he has gone from 7-6 his first 2 years to winning the Big Ten, going to the Rose Bowl, going to Fiesta Bowls, winning 11 games 3 times in 4 years, and then last year he won 4 games. I don't think that is a representation of what's to come at Penn State. I think Penn State will turn things around and be just fine and have more 11-win seasons in the near future. But that's just me. Maybe I'm being optimistic. Maybe I'm not seeing the writing on the wall that James Franklin is over the hill and lost touch with his program, and Penn State is on a massive downward spiral. Maybe, but I just don't see it that way. Do you have any concerns after last year's 4-5 performance, Troy, for Penn State?
No, I mean, you think it would be better the way that they recruit. They're going out and getting big-time recruits. We talked about it last year, though. That's great. You can get all these 5 stars, blah, 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 4 stars. Eventually what's going to happen is, and we've talked about this, and we go back to my days of coaching, you're always looking to recruit somebody better than you recruited last year, right? I mean, you're not going to settle. So what happens is you got a number 1 running back, and number 3 running back who's really good that could be a starter. Well, he gets pissed off.
Right.
You lose your talent base.
Yeah.
I mean, you get the lure. You get the lure of, it's Penn State, and he's done a great job. But, I mean, at some point you're like, okay, well, we're getting great recruiting classes. It's just kind of odd to me that, they finished where they did, and I think he'll bounce back, though, because I think he's done a great job with that program. I really have. Yeah. So, but you know how it is. He's 4-5, youngster. Boosters don't want to give $1 million to a 4-5 program, so fire the coach. It's the coach's problem.
Unless you're at Michigan and your name's Jim Harbaugh, then you can seemingly do whatever you want and be fine. But anyway, Penn State, this year's recruiting class ranks 21st nationally, number 6 in the Big Ten. Just to give perspective from a week ago, Maryland, Mike Loxley, put together the 18th ranked recruiting class, number 4 in the Big Ten for 2021. So at the end of the day, I mean, it's not James Franklin's best recruiting job for 2021 at Penn State, but it's still the 21st best class. He still has 5 4-star players. He's still got talent coming in. I don't necessarily think this is the start of a downward spiral, but maybe this is how it starts, is that it starts becoming 21st and 5 4-stars, and then they go 9-4, lose their bowl game. There's not a ton of momentum, and it turns into the 30th ranked recruiting class next year. And that's how it happens. It's usually a slower downward spiral for these teams that are consistently pushing top 10. It's like, where did Texas go? Like, Texas 10 years ago was top 10 constantly and pushing for national titles and beating Oklahoma and looking for perfect seasons every year. And then it's like, where'd they go? Well, it happens over the course of a few years. Part of it's recruiting, part of it's coaching, part of it's a lot of different things. But anyway, Penn State, season to go. Offensively, they gave up a lot of sacks. They had a lot of turnovers. That was really the issue last year. For those that don't remember, I personally didn't remember off the top of my head. They started 0-5 last year. They were -9 in the turnover battle. And I always say in football, if you're going to look at a box score to tell the story of a game, look at third downs and what team was more effective on third down, and look at the turnover battle. If a team wins both of those, it's extremely hard to lose a football game. I don't care if it's Pee-wee football. I don't care if it's the NFL. If you win on third down and you win in the turnover battle, it's really hard to lose the game of football. And it's somewhat becoming that way in basketball with the three-point line. But in football, those two stats are monumental. And, again, Penn State started 0-5. They were -9 in the turnover battle. Then they went 4-0 to close the year. They were +1 in the turnover battle. Not that that's great, but it's much better than -9. So that was the story of Penn State a year ago. 0-5 to start, and then they went 4-0 to close. Sean Clifford returns as the starting quarterback, and to this point he's been pretty solid, not great. In 2018, Trace McSorley left, went to the NFL. 2019, Tommy Stevens transferred. He was supposed to be the starter, and in came Clifford, and it was like, well, let's see how he does. And in 2019, he was pretty good. And then last year, he was turnover-prone early, and then as the numbers I just spat out for the last couple minutes showed, he got better as the season went on. But he's been, I mean, McSorley was, I don't know if electrifying is the correct word, but he was a legitimate playmaker as a Big Ten quarterback. He was, and there's a reason why he's in the NFL. He was a really good college player. Sean Clifford's not a really good college player. He just hasn't proven that. Maybe he will be this year, but he just hasn't proven that. So I think that's part of it for Penn State, is Clifford needs to take a step up. And if not, then you need to find the next McSorley. You need to find the next guy to really, or another Saquon Barkley. Your defense has to be dominating. And last season, I'll get to it in a second, but it wasn't dominating a year ago, the defense. So that's why they went 4-5. So anyway, Clifford's the guy. This is now his third year straight starting. Jahan Dotson is one of the best Big Ten receivers, going to be an NFL guy eventually, a.k.a. next year. He's a senior this year. There's talented guys behind him. There's a sophomore in Parker Washington who stepped up a lot last year. Between Dotson, Washington, and the talented guys they have, Clifford has guys to throw to. They did lose Pat Freiermuth, tight end, who stayed in state and went to the Pittsburgh Steelers, Troy. And he's been impressing in camp. I personally like Freiermuth a lot. I think he'll be a legitimate starting tight end in the NFL and eventually fantasy-worthy for your fantasy football players out there. Rookie tight ends in the NFL almost never do anything, but eventually, 2, 3, 4 years down the line, they start producing. And I truly think Freiermuth will in Pittsburgh once his time truly comes there. As a whole, at running back, Kevon Lee, Noah Kane, Devin Ford, they added a transfer from Baylor who's played a lot. This running back room is always talented. It's just a matter of how you divvy up the carries, who steps up, how you differentiate that. If you don't have a Saquon Barkley, is hard. It's legitimately tough. You either have a Saquon Barkley, you have a Zeke, you have one of these guys that just demands 25 carries a game. Otherwise, if you're Penn State, if you're Ohio State, it seems like, and Wisconsin too, to an extent, but it just seems like you have so much talent and so many guys, like you were saying, Troy, a few minutes ago, that are demanding playing time because they know they're starters for everyone outside of Oklahoma, Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, Penn State, Wisconsin's backfield. Like outside of 10 schools probably, the second, third running back at Penn State, second running back at Wisconsin, second running back at Ohio State, second running back at Clemson, Alabama, Oklahoma, those teams I mentioned, it's like they're starting everywhere else. And so if you're getting 3 carries a game as the third string guy at Penn State, how long do you buy into that? It's a reality of coaching and recruiting that way, if you do recruit that way. Again, like you said, Troy, not that you would recruit down for your backups because you're always looking to get better, but at some point, too much talent, you can't say it's a bad thing, but for certain individuals who are all about me and it's my time to shine now because I know I'm a superstar, it could be troublesome. Not that I'm saying that's happening at Penn State, but I'm just saying that it's been consistently this team has 3-4 running backs that it feels like are just ready to play college football immediately, and they're not able to because there's only one football. So anything on that, Troy? Otherwise, I'll get to the defense.
No, I'll sit back and let you talk.
Sounds good. So last year, this Penn State defense, again, it was not fantastic, which is weird as of the last few years. Like I said, this team, 3 of the last 4 years prior to last season, had 11 wins, each of those 3 or 4 years. And defensively, they have been very, very, very good. Last year, they were not very, very, very good. They were good, but not the same. Kind of like Wisconsin, in my opinion. They're usually very, very, very good and can rank top 5 in certain categories on any given year, but last year Wisconsin's defense wasn't elite. So I feel like Penn State, it was kind of the same sort of situation. Micah Parsons was supposed to be the superstar, linebacker / safety / defend any wide receiver / get after the quarterback whenever he wants to, but he sat out last year, and now he's on the Cowboys. He was still a first-round pick. There's, number of reasons why guys sit out, and he did last year, and I think that might have been a part of it as well for this Penn State team because their leading guy at linebacker was supposed to be there but opted out. So it's just the way it goes. Defensive line this year, it doesn't seem like there's going to be that top 15 NFL draft pick necessarily, but there's a lot of capable guys. They had Jason Owe from a year ago was a really good pass rusher. He ended the season with 0 sacks. But I don't necessarily – anyone could evolve and become a superstar at Penn State on the D-line, but it just doesn't seem as though that guy is there. But, again, all it takes is 3 games, and some guy has, 5 quarterback hurries and 3 sacks and 6 tackles for losses in those games, and it's like, okay, I guess I was wrong. But obviously we'll see. The secondary is an older one. I think there's at least 3 super senior players, and in this year college football there will be a number of super seniors in the sport because of how last year was, and with COVID, and you could play and still come back. It was just up to, scholarship type stuff, which we have talked about in the past. Not going to talk about it here, but point being, Penn State's secondary is old, and that's a good thing in college football. The defense, again, overall it should be strong, but can you get a legitimate pass rush? Can the linebackers truly be dominating like they have in years past? It's somewhat of a question mark. But overall, this defense, talent-wise, it has talent. It should be really strong, but it's just a matter of who in some spots. So that's the way it is. Their schedule, week 1, September 4th, which is now 8 days away, Troy. Penn State, they start the season at Wisconsin. I had to hold for a second there because I forgot I wasn't finding it on my little page here if it was at Wisconsin or at home, but it is at Wisconsin week 1.
Yep, at Wisconsin. Go Badgers, go Badgers.
Penn State has beaten Wisconsin the last 4 times. Last time Wisconsin beat them, I believe, if I remember correctly, reading, was 2011. So it's been a while. But in my opinion, this is not some superstar Penn State team that clearly out-talents Wisconsin. So I think at Wisconsin, I honestly, not to get into next week's show, and we'll start previewing games and recapping games that happen this weekend. I believe there's only one this weekend to start. But we will get into that for the next 3 months of just straight up recapping and previewing games from the week prior and the week ahead. But for next week, I would favor, not to let the cat out of the bag, but I am. At Wisconsin at home, I would favor Wisconsin to win that game because, again, I don't think Penn State is overly dominating this year. That's just my take on things. Week 3, to go through the schedule very quickly, Week 3 at home against Auburn, Week 5 home against Indiana, Week 6 at Iowa, Week 8 at Ohio State. There's some tougher games in there, for sure. And again, at Wisconsin, you play Auburn, Indiana, Iowa, Ohio State, Iowa and Ohio State on the road, Wisconsin on the road. That's 5 tougher games in general. They should win the rest just based on who they are, where they're playing. But this is not an easy schedule. And again, I don't think this team is overly dominating. So I think the second spot in the Big Ten East is up for grabs. I don't see Penn State going 11-1. I don't see them going 10-2. If they lost 3 games, if they really disappoint and lose 4, I think that's possible. And again, I think part of it is not necessarily the defense not being elite, but Sean Clifford just has to step up at quarterback. That's a big part of it because they don't have Saquon to go to just eat up 150 yards a game. So I don't know. There's not at wide receiver, but almost everywhere else, I guess, wide receiver and secondary. And running back, you have talent. Penn State will be able to run the ball fine one way or another. But there are select question marks in this team. So, again, I think they're really good, but I don't think they're elite. Truly pushing Ohio State this year. I just don't. So
that's because you're a Buckeye fan. You'd never think anybody's pushing the Buckeyes.
Sure I do. I think Alabama, Clemson, those teams will push Ohio State.
So the year that the Buckeyes don't win the East, I'm just going to clap for 60 minutes on a show.
Fair enough.
Here's my thing with Penn State, and I don't want to knock Franklin, but if you look how he built that program, he built it with guys that fit in his system, right? Then they got really good.
Yeah.
And if you look at the makeup of that team, who are the Penn State stars in the NFL at quarterback?
Yeah, there's none.
Who are the Wisconsin stars at quarterback in the NFL, excluding Russell Wilson because he was a transfer? Outside of that, youngster,
there's
how many
none.
Wisconsin? Yeah, there's none. So I think he's kind of getting away from how he built his success and where he needs to really focus. You mentioned the defense. Wisconsin's going to have a really good defense again this year. Paul Crisp works on that defense. He got lucky. He got a guy named Graham Mertz. I mean, he had his ups and downs last year. I like the kid. Maybe he'll develop. Maybe he won't. Maybe he'll be a bust. I mean, he's the biggest prospect at quarterback in Badger football since Russell Wilson, right? But Wisconsin's always been a top 10 program, not because they're a quarterback, because they're a defense. And when I go back, and remember, I'm 50 years old, the Joe Paterno days and this whole Penn State, they always had great running backs. I mean, so now, youngster, if you and I sat down here, cracked open an adult beverage and started talking about Penn State running backs that have had great NFL careers, we could start going on and on and on, right? How many offensive linemen in the NFL from Penn State? We could go on and on and on and on. They need to get back to getting that elite defense like you're talking about. I mean, I think the Badgers' defense will be top 10. I mean, if they were 10th, I'd be probably disappointed as a Badger fan.
Right.
But Penn State had a couple good years where it's like, holy crap. I think it was 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, the Badgers, it might have been Melvin Gordon. When Melvin Gordon played, he could not run against Penn State.
Yeah.
And Wisconsin has great offensive lines. They could not push that defensive line anywhere. And I think it was 2 years ago against Ohio State. That offensive line of Wisconsin could not push that defensive line. And we're not talking about slouches at Wisconsin. We're talking about players that are going to be in the NFL one day. Usually 3 out of 5 every year will be playing in the NFL on Sundays at some point. That is fact. That's not just me being a Wisconsin Badger homer. Badgers, they produce offensive linemen in the NFL. And so my point, youngster, is Penn State's downfall has come because I think Franklin gave into the way that Ohio State is playing, and not in a bad way, but he wants that electrifying offense, right? He wants to be able to put up 50, 60 points, blah, 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 blah. But that's my – but do you see where I'm going, though, youngster? It looks like he's trying to do that, and he lost focus on the other end of the ball. I mean, Penn State has always had great defense. Ohio State always has great defense. Badgers always have great defense. What's the thing in common with these three teams? Normally they're 1 or 2 in their division, right? Well, Ohio State's number 1. Badgers won last year, kind of a downfall, like Penn State. But, I mean, he's got to get back and just focus on it. I know you want to outscore teams, and to be nationally prominent, you need to have a quarterback. You need to be able to outscore teams in the bowl games, right?
Yeah.
But if you don't have a defense and you don't have a quarterback, then build that defense. Wisconsin has done it. I mean, they haven't been in the playoff, but they sure got a good record over the last 10 years, right?
Yes, they do.
All right. That's my 2 cents worth. Carry on. Way too long on one team.
Indiana. This is one team a year ago that I was all in on, and they delivered. I was correct on that. And if I'm ever wrong, I always mention when I'm wrong. Last year I was correct on Indiana. I'll give myself props there. 6-1 in the Big Ten. You can't ask for more than that at Indiana. You cannot ask for a perfect season in the Big Ten if you're Indiana football. You can't. If you're Ohio State, if you get to that level, then you can. If you're Wisconsin and you have the Russell Wilson, you have Graham Mertz, a year from now, 2 years from now, and he's fully developed, and it's not fully developed, but you get my point that he's clearly a top 10 quarterback in college football. Like, yeah, you can expect to win every single game. That's fine. But Indiana, you went 6-1 in the Big Ten a year ago. That's unbelievable. And we went on the show multiple times last year talking about the first time in 25 years they're ranked this. The first time in 30 years they're ranked back-to-back weeks. The first time in program history they did this. Like, last year was unbelievable for Indiana. And Tom Allen, what he's done there, this is his 6th year technically because he coached the bowl game his first year. But this is realistically his 5th full year at Indiana. His first 2 years were 5-7. Then he went 8-5. Last year, 6-1 in the Big Ten. They lost their bowl game, so 6-2 overall. But that was the real breakthrough. Breakthrough was last year. 2 years ago, you kind of saw it when they got from 2-7 in the Big Ten to 5-4, and then last year they got their quarterback back, and they had these playmakers offensively at running back, at wide receiver. The defense had a number of starters return, and it's like, yeah, I'm buying into this Indiana team, and they delivered a year ago. So they were great. This year, Tom Allen, what do you do? We'll see. I'll talk about it right now, but recruiting, and it's funny, but this Tom Allen has not been putting together top 25 classes at Indiana all these years. He hasn't. And even after last year.
Either did Paul Christo, youngster.
No. And so here's the numbers after this record-breaking year for Indiana football last year. Recruiting class this year ranks 54th nationally, 12th in the Big Ten. So that's Indiana football. Unless they have this complete turnaround, somewhat like Penn State did. Obviously, Penn State had a great history for years and years and years prior, unlike Indiana.
You know what, though, youngster, I just want to stop you because this is the thing I want listeners to know. The loyal listeners know I have no use for AP polls. I have no use for all those polls. I have no use for the numbers you're throwing at me right now, youngster. You know why? Because as a coach, I could give a shit about where I rank. does the player fit in my system? And if Allen's going out there and sees a 3-star, but this is what pisses me off. That the national media is going to sit there and say, oh, my God, Indiana's not going to be good this year. They were the 12th ranked recruiting team in the Big Ten. Big freaking deal.
Yeah.
If Allen went out and got that guard that fits in his system because he can pull to make an edge block on a defensive end for his running game, that's what he wanted. That's what he went out and got. He wanted to go out and get a tight end that nobody else wanted because, you know what, this guy's a great pass blocker, and now he's going to catch 20 balls a year. That's his role. Tom Allen recruits for the system like Paul Christ recruits for the system.
Yeah.
So that's all I've heard about, though, youngster. It's pissing me off because I'm listening to Big Ten stuff, and they talk about the recruiting class. Well, he can't build a program if he's not going to have top 20 recruiting class. Bullshit! You can build recruiting classes. I can swear on this show. It really makes me mad because I was a coach, and you've heard me talk about this show. Would I love that 5-star over there? Yeah. But honestly, what am I going to do? Go recruit a 5-star and change everything I'm doing in my program to accommodate that 5-star? No, I'm not doing that. I'm going to get guys that are going to buy into my system, that are going to play, and can make me win. And that's what Allen's done. He proved it last year.
Every year in college basketball, Tom Izzo selects his one top 15, top 20 recruit that truly buys in and immediately wants to play defense, is a hard worker, understands he's going to be the 4th option offensively. Despite being a top 15 recruit, you're going to be the 4th guy to go to offensively. You might be here 2-3 years before you go to the NBA. You could leave after 1 if you really want to because NBA talent evaluators will understand your potential. But if you really want to get good here, you're not going to be the go-to guy here at Michigan State until you're probably a junior or a senior. Then you can be the go-to guy on average 18. You're not going to average 27 because that's not the way we do things. You see that every year at Michigan State in basketball. And I was going to get to Justin Jefferson last year in the NFL. What did he do his rookie year in the NFL? He set umpteen number of records. What kind of prospect was he coming out of high school? He was a 2-star prospect, not even a 3-star, a 2-star. That's Justin Jefferson. Every year in the NFL draft, top 5, top 10, you get a 2-star or an unranked guy coming out of high school who gets drafted top 5, top 10 in the NFL. It happens 9 years out of 10. So there is something to Wisconsin football. There's something to how Tom Allen has made this team a legitimate contender. They are not on Ohio State's level, but they're a legitimate contender to beat Ohio State on any given Saturday. Wisconsin is not on Ohio State.
Ohio State, youngster. I was beating Ohio State. I think Indiana's better than Iowa. So it could be a Saturday afternoon. But here's the thing, youngster. It could be a Saturday afternoon. Everything falls into place for Indiana when they play Ohio State, and that's the year where they catch lightning in a bottle.
Yeah. Not everything even has to go Indiana's way. They've gotten to that point. Everything doesn't have to go Iowa's way to beat Ohio State. Everything doesn't have to go Wisconsin's way. Everything doesn't have to go Northwestern's way. Like, Purdue beat them by 20 a few years ago. Like, Purdue's nowhere close. They're not even on Iowa's level. They're not on close to Wisconsin. They're not close to Penn State. But Purdue can control the game against Ohio State if things go their way. So,
and again, the youngster goes to this. If Ohio State overlooks, and people say, no, you know what? I've been a college coach. We went through this discussion. We're going into year 6 in January of go big or go home. I've been there. I've sat in meeting rooms. I've sat in my office and looked at players. I've looked them in the eye before a game, and I've walked out of a tunnel to a game telling my assistant coach this team is not ready to play. And that falls on me. They took a team too lightly. That happens. I mean, that sucks as a coach. When you walk out of a locker room and you can look into every one of those eyes when you're talking pregame and you just don't see the intensity. You just don't see it. And sometimes you can be as a coach like, hey, you know what? This team is 0-7 and we're 6-1. We're going to go in and we're going to destroy this team. But guess what? You got to take them serious. And the guys are watching the film going, I'm better than my guy. I'm better than my guy. I'm better than my guy. Why do I got to work hard this week? I can take care of this guy in my sleep. Those are things that happen with 18 to 23-year-olds. They are arrogant. They have egos. And it doesn't matter if there's a 40-year-old guy, 50-year-old guy yelling in their face. It's not going to change how they feel about their opponent.
I was that kind of player. And I know you somewhat weren't. You were different. You had a different mindset playing than I did. And I remember even as a kid in a rec league for basketball or when I played flag football for a few years, when I played whatever, baseball, like if I look at the standings before a game and see that my team is 11-2 and the opposing team is 2-11, it's like, no, I'm not going to give 100% in practice. I'm not. And that's me as a kid, whether that's kid level, whether that's middle school, whether that's high school, whether that's like you, Troy, and playing collegiately. Like for some people, it's not going to matter. Other people can buy in, and I applaud that. To me, I was too hard-headed. I just was when I played, regardless of the sport, regardless
and so
of
now, so think about what you just said, youngster. You got me. Yeah, I busted my rear in practice. I was that guy. I went out, and you know, the loyal listeners know I had a successful college career at the great University of Wisconsin-Whitewater. Most competitive Warhawk 2 years in a row, given out by the coach my junior and senior year, captain of the team, one of the best 11 in Wisconsin my senior year. But I put the work in, right, because I never took any of my opponents for granted because I always wanted to kill them, literally. That's how I was. I'm like, I'm going to smother you in the ground. And I'm not the most athletic guy in the world. I was good, but I worked hard. But I played with guys like you, Kevin, that you know what? They have a lot of talent, and they're good. They're out there. And I'm not saying I'm not saying anything bad. It's just the way people are. So now you have, 90 guys on the college roster? I know they don't always play, and not all of them suit up on Saturday, but you're telling me that you have 22 starters that have all bought in to the system that, you know what, we got to take this 0-6 team serious? No. Right. How many times have we seen in the fluff games that teams are beating top 20 teams? Yeah. How many times have we seen a bottom dweller in the Big Ten make a big upset? We'll go to your Buckeyes.
Michigan, as a Buckeye fan,
Appalachian State.
I'm proud to bring that one up. Yeah, that's an FCS school. And Michigan was, I think, ranked 5th at that time, and they lost. So,
you know, and again, as a coach, you take responsibility, but there's some part of me as a coach, and I would tell my assistants, we've done what we can do. We've preached. We've showed them the tape. We've told them they got to take this team serious because, you know what, they're going to compete. This is their Super Bowl. They want to beat you. Right. This is what they're doing. Yeah. But it doesn't register.
No.
But as a coach, you take responsibility and say, "Oh, my team wasn't prepared." Right. And it shouldn't be that way, but you take that responsibility as a coach.
Yeah.
So, again, my point back to all this is that Indiana, the way Allen has built his team, he has built the team to his system. He's bringing guys in that are going to play within his system. This is what I'm going to do. We're not changing for you. You're coming in here and going to play in our system. I was the same type coach when I recruited in college. I'm not changing stuff for you. This is how I play. This is what we're going to do. Can we do some other little intricate things because of your skills? Yes, we could. But I am not changing my overall philosophy as a coach and what I'm doing in my program to appease you. So guess what? You're not a good fit. Oh, yeah, but, Coach, I'm a 5-star. I want to play for you. Guess what? You don't fit in my system because I don't want that. I've never turned – now, again, in soccer, they Division II, Division III.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get the rankings, but there were guys that I talked to them and I was turned off. Sometimes I got turned off by the parents. Like, what are you?
Right.
I'm not doing anything for your son. What is your son going to do for me in my program? This is what he's going to do.
Yeah.
And that's how I recruited. You know, I'd walk away from kids that could they have started and been an all-conference player? Yeah, they could have been, but they were individuals. And you're a soccer guy, youngster. We talk about it. We've done it on Go Big once in a while. We did Soccer Savvy. There's 11 guys on a soccer pitch that have to play together. You can't have 9 and 2 guys that want to do their own thing. It just doesn't work that way. So you're going to buy into my system or you're not going to buy into it. So to beat that horse into the ground, that's what Allen has done. And that's how he recruits. I could care less that his recruiting class is, 52nd, 54th in the nation? I bet you he has guys in that class that they're going to be starters in 2 years on his team because they buy into his system. That's all I got. I'm done.
Ronaldo to Manchester United. That's big stuff. So, anyway, not this is a soccer show. So back to Indiana football. You brought up soccer, so I just had to make a point there. Donovan McCulley, quarterback, 4-star quarterback. This year's recruiting class, their top overall recruit that Indiana got, 6'5", dual threat guy. That's who Tom Allen is hoping will be the eventual starting quarterback to keep Indiana rolling. As of now, Michael Penick is still electrifying as well at quarterback. There's no reason to. He is the second best quarterback in the Big Ten right now. Tanner Morgan at Minnesota can be. And Ohio State, realistically, you don't know what. Well, I'll talk about their quarterback situation in a second. You don't know what's going to come of that. So I shouldn't even say Penix is second. He could very well be first. On any given Saturday, he can be the best quarterback in the Big Ten. He has proven that before. So that's part of Indiana's success for sure is Penix. But even when Penix was out with an injury last year, which that's how his season ended, Jack Tuttle came in and they still beat Wisconsin. And I know it was a down.
Jack Tuttle! They did not prepare for Mr. Tuttle, and he ripped them apart. He ripped apart a top 10 defense. You look at the numbers, youngster, with Wisconsin and the record last year. That defense still has the talent. They can shut guys down, but he tore them apart. He literally tore apart that Wisconsin Badger defense.
That's my point, is that Penix is the real deal. But even when their backup came in a year ago, Indiana still beat a team like Wisconsin, which goes to show that Indiana was for real a year ago. Last year, they also had Whop Philyor out at on the outside as a wide receiver. He's now in the NFL. Losing an NFL receiver at Indiana is a big deal. However, Ty Freifogel actually led the team in receiving last year, not Philyor. Freifogel will also eventually be an NFL receiver. As of today, he is going to suit up week 1 for Indiana, though, so that is helpful. Peyton Hendershot is a tight end who's not fantastic, but he's a dependable tight end that Penix or Tuttle, given injury to Penix, can go to. I bring that up. I keep bringing back Penix's injury because it's not as though, at least in my opinion, that Penix will be 100% to start the season. As far as I'm aware, he is going to be starting the season for Indiana. But he had an ACL injury. So he is on track to start week 1 for Indiana. But maybe it's something that this team knows he's not going to be back week 1 and they're holding it a secret. But as of now, he's supposed to be back. I just personally don't think he's going to be 100% after an ACL injury last year. Not in the beginning of last year either. That he's going to be not 100%. That's all I'm saying. This year for this Indiana team, at least at the start. And to be honest, the whole year, I'm sure he won't be 100%. But in any case, every ACL injury is different. So don't want to make too many assumptions. But Stevie Scott, running back, who was good a year ago, also left for the NFL. Again, it goes to show that this Indiana team had talent. Their second leading rusher a year ago, Tim Baldwin, as a freshman, is back. He showed promise at times when he played. They have a couple other guys as well that can play, but it's not as though the cupboard is bare after Stevie Scott left. So that's a good thing. Just like at wide receiver, they have Freifogel. He's still an option. They still have Hendershot at tight end. They still have Baldwin at running back. These guys may not necessarily be as good as who was in front of them a year ago, but again, like I just mentioned, at wide receiver, their second, quote-unquote, second wide receiver actually led the team in receiving. So you can say it doesn't make sense, which is fine. But offensive line a year ago was solid in terms of statistics and giving up pressures and sacks and all that. It's an experienced offensive line that returns a lot of guys. That's another good thing. Defensively on that side of the ball, they were able to get a nice pass rush in terms of the numbers. Their best pass rusher is gone from a season ago, so kind of a theme with this team outside of quarterback is the top guy is gone at this position, but they still have talented guys behind them. That's what made them a good overall team. That's what made them truly compete against everybody a season ago. So linebacker, Micah Mcfadden, he's the team's leading tackler. From a season ago, he's back. That's a good thing. Secondary is experienced. That was a big thing for me a year ago. Was I knew their secondary was going to be a point of emphasis and a good secondary, and that helps in the Big Ten because some of these teams like Penn State do want to, yes, they want to run the ball just like Ohio State, but they're very capable of throwing the ball. And if you're giving up 300 yards a game in the Big Ten, especially the Big Ten East, it can be a little tricky. Maryland they can be very good at running the ball. They also want to throw the ball as well. It's a more pass-happy league in the Big Ten East as opposed to the Big Ten West. Not to say that Ohio State, Penn State don't run the football extremely well, but they are more capable, apt to throw the ball on first down as opposed to we're Iowa, we're Wisconsin, we're Northwestern, we're whoever, Minnesota, we're going to run the ball a lot more than we throw it. And it's a little different in the Big Ten East. Not saying every single team, but you get my point. Last year, 7 Big Ten games for Indiana, the defense allowed 136 points. That's less than 20 points per game. And in college football, even in the NFL, that's really good to not allow 20 anymore on an average. But in college, that's ridiculously good. So, again, this team's defense was very good last year, which is not something you associate Indiana football with, but it was. And again, you lost a number of NFL caliber guys on the offense.
You don't associate anything with Indiana football up to last year.
No, no, you don't. But
I'm not being a sarcastic asshole. I'm not.
That's the truth.
Again, this is our 5th year doing Big Ten football on Go Big or Go Home on The Grueling Truth, sponsored by Interpeak Coffee. When have we talked this in depth about Indiana on a preview show?
That would be never.
Never.
There's a lot to go.
Why. But the thing is, that's why I got so mad before, youngster, because I listened to the Big Ten stuff. I look online, and they're like, Indiana's a flash in the pan, all because of that recruiting class. Well, what were the recruiting classes before they were good? They weren't that great either.
No.
So he hasn't changed anything. I mean, that's why I get so upset. You know I do, youngster, about these rankings. I'm air quoting the rankings. Oh, they got the second best recruiting class. Oh, they're ranked 13th in the preseason poll. I could care less. It just irks me. But Indiana's going to are they always? I mean, you look at that defense. Those are great numbers. Under 20 points, like you said. especially in college football. You do that, you're going to be where Indiana's at. I mean, that is just fact.
Yeah.
Now, you're not going to hold Ohio State to 19 points.
Right.
If you did, well, then that's awesome. But hopefully you got an offense that can score 21, because Ohio State's going to have a good defense. And Indiana has that. And I look at it now. We have never talked about Indiana in depth. But when I look at the East and I look at the West, correct me if I'm wrong, has Allen not kind of mirrored what Christ is doing at Wisconsin? But Allen actually has better talent at his quarterback position than Christ has in Wisconsin. I mean, you got Graham Mertz.
Right.
Graham Mertz. I mean, you look at Mertz. The whole talk is, Graham Mertz this, and I'm on the bandwagon.
Even the guy in waiting at Indiana's backup quarterback, it's like, this is a 6'5" dual threat 4-star quarter. Like, he's ready to go.
That's what I'm saying, youngsters. Allen has addressed that position where Christ, he got Mertz, but what do you got outside of that? And Mertz, I mean, he wasn't overly impressive last year. And again, we can give a pass. You got the COVID because Mertz got it. He was out of practice, blah, blah, blah. We gave him the pass. So, okay, we'll do that because in his first game, man, he looked darn good. But again, it was against a Michigan team that sucks. I mean, you got to see what happens. And I'm on the Mertz bandwagon. This guy maybe is an NFL quarterback at some point, but based off last year, and everything's based off what you've done, if I'm an NFL scout and I'm just looking at last year, no, Graham Mertz is not an NFL quarterback. He's not. But again, you got the COVID things. My point to this is I just look at these two programs, and Allen, I'm not saying he mirrored Wisconsin, but he's the coach that says, you know what, I'm going to recruit guys to come in my system. Here we go. This is what we're going to do. And, by the way, we're going to knock you right in the jaw, and when we finally get there, take it. I look at the two programs. Are they going to get to the Ohio State level? No. I don't believe either of those programs will. But you'll have that year where you have lightning in a bottle. And that's the year you got to capitalize on. I just think both of those coaches, Allen and Christ, and I'm not doing it again, I always want to preface, I'm not being a Badger homer. Wisconsin's always near the top. Indiana, honestly, youngster, if Allen can have that team where they're second or third every year in the Big Ten East, do you not think Indiana boosters would love that instead of being fifth or sixth?
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
I'm just saying, I love what Allen has done at Indiana. And it irks me as I watch reviews about, it's a prove-it year for Indiana. No, it's not. Just look at the track record for Allen. I mean, so if he goes 7-5 this year, look, Indiana sucks. Look at the schedule. Look at the schedule.
That's the thing. Week 1, their schedule at Iowa. That's a big game. Week 2, home to Cincinnati. Cincinnati's ranked 8th in the country for a reason. That's a massive game. Week 3. Cincinnati is week 3. Week 5 at Penn State. Week 7, home to Ohio State. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 games that are all very loose.
They could be 0-4.
In those 4 games,
They could be 0-4, youngster. I'm just throwing it out there. They could be 0-4.
Those aren't to start. Those are the first. I guess Ohio State's week 7. They could be 3-4. I mean, that's not unquestionable that they could start 3-4. And people are like, Iowa's bad. But if you're playing literally 4 ranked teams, I mean, then at Iowa, and we have our little jabs at Iowa, but at Iowa is no joke, even if you are Ohio State.
That's tough. That's a tough place to play.
Yes, Penick Stadium is a problem for us.
We always want to keep these shows. We don't want to get off. I got to tell a story because I coached at Upper Iowa University for a number of years. So I've been in Penick Stadium. I went down there for a game. The fans are rabid. The fans are great. It is a college. I went down there. Holy cow.
Yeah.
It is a tough place to play if you're an opposing team. You got to go into that stadium. And in college football, the fans, to me, youngster, they do matter. They do matter when you have 80,000 fans that are booing you and cheering against you and doing, you know what? That place is a hard place to play. That's all I'm going to say. I want to share that.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. If Penix plays week 1 at Iowa, I'd favor Indiana, but if not, I'd favor Iowa. And again, part of it, is just exactly how healthy is he going to be even if he does play. Then again, you're playing a top 10 team supposedly in Cincinnati. That's hard. Would I favor Indiana there at home? Maybe. At Penn State, I'd favor Penn State. I don't know if it's kind of crazy, but I might believe more in Indiana neutral field, Indiana Penn State. I might seriously favor Indiana. Again, this is all realistically dependent on Penix's health. If he's truly 60% of himself, or he's not playing some games, gets re-injured, whatever, then it's a completely different story. Team can still be good, but you're going to lose at Iowa, you're going to lose at Penn State, you're going to lose to Cincinnati, you're going to lose to Ohio State. Like, you just are. So it's hard. It'll be interesting to see. I really hope Penix is healthy and doing his thing, but it might not be the reality, which sucks, because this Indiana team is really looking to build something, and they're capable of it, but we'll see. Anyway, anything more on Indiana, Troy, before we get to our last team here in the Big Ten?
No, because I know you'll be long-winded on this one. I might just take a nap.
Ohio State. There is a lot to go over because it is Ohio State. At the end of the day, realistically, we get the point that they're really talented everywhere. A year ago, there were question marks, like at running back, and it did prove to be an issue in a number of games, and it wasn't until realistically the playoff that Trey Sermon, Big Ten title game, that Trey Sermon really took over and proved himself and turned into an NFL guy, like top 3 round guy. He really never truly won the job over until later in the year. Ohio State is not perfect, despite all these numbers and things that you can go over, that I'll go over some of. They're not perfect, but they are the king of the Big Ten. Clemson's the king of the ACC. Alabama's the king of the SEC. These 3 programs are on runs that only few programs have had ever. It's not just a 1 or 2 year thing either. This is going on 5, 6, 7 years for these programs. Like, it's ridiculous. The runs they're on are truly historic. You can finish 3rd in college football and be seen as a disappointment because you're Alabama, Ohio State, Clemson, but realistically how good your team is to even finish 3rd is ridiculous. Not just talking about talent, but just everything, depth. It's ridiculous how dominating these 3 teams have been over the last 7 or so years. It's absurd. So to be Wisconsin, to be LSU, to be Indiana last year is very impressive because you're really good. You're just not historically great like these 3 programs are that I've mentioned. It's just they're at a different level. And again, Ohio State can lose to Purdue by 20 on any given Saturday. So again, they're not perfect, but what these teams have built is truly ridiculous. Ryan Day has taken over. He's gone 23-2 so far. You lose to Clemson, you lose to Alabama last year in the title game. I mean, that's that's what he's done. Ohio State recruiting class ranks second nationally, first in the Big Ten. They have 7 5-star recruits, 2 D linemen, a running back, a wide receiver, 1 offensive lineman, 2 quarterbacks. I'll get to that in a second. They have 13 4-star players. They only have 3 3-stars. That's, again, that teams don't do that unless you're on this ridiculous tear as a program. And that's what Ohio State is on right now. I think as an Ohio State fan now, I think that you take it for granted. That you're just dominant at basically every single position. Because that doesn't happen unless you're like one program every 5 years or so. You go on this little 3-year run where you're just ridiculous. Like USC for 3-4 years, they were ridiculous. But that comes to an end. Eventually this will come to an end at Ohio State where they're not this ridiculously talented everywhere. Eventually. But this year, they're supposed to be at, again, basically every single position. Quarterback, this is what I wanted to really get to with this team in particular. Justin Fields is gone, obviously. But C.J. Stroud was named the starter a couple weeks ago, I believe. And nobody really knows much of C.J. Stroud because he hasn't really played. He is a top 50 recruit, number 2 pro-style quarterback coming out of high school. He's a sophomore now. So he understands Ryan Day, what he wants to do, this offense. So I have no question marks that C.J. Stroud, and from what I've seen, from what I've read, he's going to be the next really big thing at Ohio State, at least this year. But part of that is because the offensive line, part of that is because the running game, part of that is because of the weapons that he'll have. It's not just C.J. Stroud. It's not just Justin Fields. It's not just Dwayne Haskins. It's all these guys around the quarterback that help elevate. You can be an A-level quarterback. If you have garbage around you, if you have a bad offensive line, Pat Mahomes doesn't play like an A-level quarterback in the Super Bowl because his offensive line was bad. He still had A-level weapons, but he played bad. Why? Because of his offensive line. But at Ohio State, you don't have a bad offensive line. So it just heightens Justin Fields even more. It'll heighten C.J. Stroud even more. So it's almost very hard for them to ever look bad because of the talent they have. But so what I really wanted to get into with this team was Quinn Ewers was the number 1 overall recruit for the class of 2022. Troy, I don't know if you know this, if you heard about it. This happened a couple weeks ago. He reclassified to this year's class. And why did he do that? How did he do that? He literally skipped his senior year of high school to go to Ohio State and be in the 2021 class. So he's now at Ohio State. Why do you do that? Yeah, you can get to campus a year early, this and that, blah, 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 blah. At the end of the day, 2021 is different than every other year in college football history. Why? We haven't mentioned it on this show, but as every college football fan understands, is the name, image, likeness thing. Like, you can go to Ohio State as Quinn Ewers, the number 1 overall recruit in the country. 2022, 2021 doesn't matter. He's ranked number 1. And you can get paid however much money to go on a car advertisement, to appear at McDonald's and sign your name. You can make legitimate money. Nick Saban has said that his quarterback, who hasn't even really played yet, has $1 million offers for sponsorships. Like, if you're Quinn Ewers, you can go to high school and play your senior season and get hurt and ruin your career, or you can come to Ohio State early, skip your senior year of high school, and make umpteen number of dollars. That's the reality of college football now. You can do that. And so that's what he decided to do. He is the first real high-level prospect to do this. We haven't mentioned it on the show, but he's the first guy to do this, and I just wanted to get your thoughts on that. Troy, again, he's 4th on the depth chart because he came to Ohio State, I think, literally in the month of August is when he arrived. But so he's not the starter, the guy at Ohio State this year at all. I'd be shocked if he played a down because they have other talented guys behind Stroud, but What do you think of this number one overall recruit skipping his senior year of high school to get to Ohio State early? In my opinion, partially, I have no personal idea, no legitimate fact information, but I'm sure part of it is because he can make a lot of money right now.
Why wouldn't you want to make money? I mean, here's the thing. You and I, we were on board with this. I mean, yeah, these colleges are making billions of dollars. Well, I shouldn't say billions. They're making millions. Yeah. And a lot of times, though, you look at it and they got to split it amongst the conference with the bowl games, blah, blah, blah. So again, people are going to criticize this like, oh, he's only doing it for the money. You know what? He is doing it for the money.
You have no idea what $100,000 could do for his family. You have no clue.
Well, you threw a number out, right? $100,000. You and I, youngster, we work full-time jobs, and we do radio on the side because we love to do radio. If somebody told you, youngster, we're going to give you $100,000, you're going to listen, right? I'm 50 years old. I'm nearing retirement. If somebody says I can give you $100,000, I'm listening.
Yeah.
I'm listening. And my point to this is, though, I see the criticism about this. They're like, well, he did it for the money, blah, blah, blah. The game is now, it's all about it. Youngster, how many times have I ever defended the NCAA saying it wasn't about money? I believe my exact words about the NCAA is they are a bunch of greedy bastards.
Yeah.
I mean, go back to the archives. I'm not going to sit and defend the NCAA. They're greedy. The guys to get money, they can get money. That's great. I want to say this, though. You better have the intellectual part of it down if you want to skip your senior year in high school. And I really believe that because you still are a student athlete, and he may be the number one pick, right? He's NFL ready. Dude,
I think
but again,
to me it's more of a life experience thing. To me, it's not can he handle himself academically at Ohio State, because at the end of the day, like if you're this highly touted, like he's Trevor Lawrence level touted, that he's the number one guy, doesn't matter the class, this year, next year, doesn't matter, number one. Like at the end of the day, his sight is being the number one overall pick in the draft and making millions just off of that.
Until he tears up his ACL, youngster. This is my point.
Yeah.
I'm an old guy. I'm an old school guy. And so my only concern with these guys I'm a junior and I'm already the number one prospect as a junior. This is where you and I may be talking about scandals 2 years from now. You get a number one running back as a junior in high school that's going to go to Alabama. And the guy's got a 2.1 GPA in high school. How can he finish high school a year early? That would be my only concern about this.
I don't know if he graduated. I kind of doubt he did. I doubt Ewers graduated high school. I don't know if he did.
You have to have a high school diploma to get accepted into college.
Do you? I honestly don't know. I don't know. Because all these teams, like Ohio State, has these academic. I personally, out of high school, couldn't go to Ohio State because I didn't meet their requirements academically. Why can Quinn Ewers do it? Why can, some of the players at Ohio State don't meet their academic requirements? So what's to say they need a high school diploma?
So we don't have enough time on a preview show, but this is something. Make a note of this. I'm just saying, you and I are going to talk about these scandals in a year, 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now. About this guy, and it may even be this one right now. Like you said, did you meet the admission requirements to get? How the hell did you get in? You don't have a high school diploma. You got a 9 on your ACT, and you got a 400 on your SAT. How the hell did you get into school? Because that's my thing, and that's where I'm going with. I could care less, youngster. I'm so happy for these guys that they can get paid. If they can go down to McDonald's and they can get $50 for eating a double cheeseburger, then do it. It's about time. I mean, you remember the stories I told you about when I played at our great school, the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater. I had to adhere to all the NCAA rules. I'm a Division III soccer player. What do you want me to do? You mean I can't work and I can't make money? That's ridiculous. I mean, yeah, I believe that college players should be able to get whatever they can get for being who they are. But we're going to now get into not so much the scandals of when they're in school and the grades and the cheating, which we've talked about a million times, right? Now we're going to get into how did this kid get into a school? These are your requirements, blah, blah. I can see it already, youngster. We bent the rules. Oh, you bent the rules. I can't wait for our show in 2 years. I mean, it's going to be fun. But do you blame the kid? And again, you look at a lot of these talented players, and we see it all the time in the NFL. These people came from blue-collar families. Dad's busting his rear 80 hours a week to put food on the table, to get his kids to school, to keep a roof over their head. And you know what? His son makes it in the NFL. That is great. That is a great story, right? So if you're that kid and you're the number one recruit as a junior, why wouldn't you try to get to college and get that likeness money? Because people are going to give it to you, right? My only problem is, are you cheating the system? And are you academically fit to be accepted into school after your junior year? And I'll throw it to the listeners. I'll throw it to you, youngster. When I was a junior in high school, there is no way I was ready to go to college. I don't care about my athletic ability. I'm talking about my intellect. And at the end of the day, these guys are college athletes. They are student athletes. And what if he tears his ACL in preseason camp this year?
And back to Algebra 2 he goes. I don't know. I'm just kidding. But, yeah. You make a point. But where does he go from there? I literally don't know. Again, I don't know if he graduated high school. I have no idea on his situation. So I can't speak to it.
All right, carry on. We got to go.
Offensively, a year ago, this team averaged over 500 yards per game. They averaged 41 points per game. That was with playing in the playoff up until the national championship. So offensively, they were really good. I don't think that C.J. Stroud is as good as Justin Fields. I don't think the efficiency will be there. I don't think the ability is exactly what Justin Fields has, because I think Justin Fields is literally a 15-year NFL starting quarterback. I just haven't seen it from C.J. Stroud, and maybe he'll prove me wrong. But I think Justin Fields is one of those few guys that can do that. The thing with Stroud that he has at his disposal is there's no Calvin Johnson that he's throwing to. There's no Julio Jones. There's no NFL Hall of Fame. Maybe there will be, and I'm wrong. There's not necessarily that guy, but just in terms of the depth and how good these guys are collegiately, and that they'll all be NFL pass catchers, it may be a documentary 20 years from now how good, and not just that, maybe it is this year's class of pass catchers at Ohio State, maybe it's last year's, maybe it's 4 years ago, but the string and the depth of how many, not just wide receivers, but tight ends that this team has is, I don't remember seeing, like, it's the University of Miami running back room where you have like 3 all-pro NFL guys eventually in the same backfield in college. Like, it's that type of thing at Ohio State at wide receiver right now. And it has been that way last year. a few years ago, I remember they had that type of thing where it's like, all these guys are going to be NFL players. Like, they should be NFL receivers. Like, that's the way it is this year. Chris Olave a year ago could have been drafted first 2 rounds for sure. He came back. He's the top 3 receiver in college football, I would say. Some could argue the best. Garrett Wilson also could have been drafted a year ago if he would have went out. He's back. He's a top 10 guy in college football for sure. This team has at least 1, 2, 3, 4, I believe, 5-star other recruits at wide receiver that are on the roster right now, either sophomores or freshmen. That's 6 guys that are either former 5-star players or are already established top 10 collegiate receivers. That's just a wide receiver. Then you add Jeremy Ruckert at tight end, who was the number 1 prospect at tight end a few years ago, former 5-star. Like, you have 7 guys who should all make the NFL that Stroud can throw to. That's not including the backfield that he can throw to in the backfield out in the flat, and they can just take it 70 yards. That's 7 pass catchers that should, if I had to put money on it, all 7 of those guys, that some of them I didn't even mention by name and just by recruiting ranks, 7 guys that should make the NFL. Like,
will they all finish their career at Ohio State, youngster?
In terms of not transferring or going all 4 years, or?
No. Yeah, before they go to the NFL, are they going to play their last game as an Ohio State Buckeye?
Maybe not. And actually, they lost a receiver that he went to Alabama.
It goes to my point, and you're talking about, okay, they're over. The thing is, you get these guys, and they're coming out, these arrogant 18, 19-year-olds, and now I'm 7th on the depth chart. I'm gonna go somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
That's what
that happened.
It goes back to my point about the ranking. Okay, they're number 2 in the country. I don't care. Yeah, you recruited a 5-star guy. That's great. Add him to your roster. Is he good enough to play? And I understand that. Yeah, the competition part, but these kids they think they're that great, and maybe they were in high school, but now, like you said, you got 7 guys. You can't play 7 receivers.
No,
you got nobody to block for your quarterback then.
Yeah,
it just goes to my point. That, you got all these great receivers. They can all be NFL talent. They're not all going to finish their career at Ohio State. Their collegiate career at Ohio State.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, are they going to get drafted sitting on the bench and not playing as a sophomore, junior? No, they're going to get upset.
Right. Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah, that's their weapons as far as pass catchers go. Pass protection-wise, offensive line, it wasn't top 3 in the country. That was partially an issue. You somewhat saw that against Clemson when Justin Fields got annihilated, especially on one play. But also against Alabama. Their offensive line was not perfect a year ago. Trey Sermon is gone at running back as well. The offensive line this year, to me, it's going to be the same thing where it's a very good offensive line. It's an elite-level offensive line, but it's not we're just going to run the ball for 300 yards and we're going to not let C.J. Stroud get touched against Alabama and Clemson, and if Wisconsin's got a dominating D-line, it's not that level of offensive line. Still insanely good, but not ridiculous. That's nitpicking, but that can be the difference between winning a national title, going undefeated, and losing to Wisconsin, losing to Northwestern, losing to Indiana, losing to Purdue. Ohio State does that every so often. So that's just one thing to look for, is that their offensive line might not completely dominate literally everybody they play. Again, Trey Sermon is gone at running back. Master Teague is back. He has not proven to be this ridiculous running back in college. He's really good. He's really solid for sure, but he is not a first 2-round NFL running back. He has not proven that. There are other talented guys. Mayan Williams, Travion Henderson have the potential. They are younger. They have the potential to, in my opinion, and from what I've read, take Master Teague's spot as the year goes on. And this backfield will share carries for sure throughout the year, but especially early on. So that is, again, nitpicking, but it's not some elite, ridiculous running game that, you've got the next Heisman winner, you've got the next top 10 running back pick, Saquon Barkley type guy back there at Ohio State. At least not yet. In these guys, they have not proven it to be. So that's Ohio State's offense. Defensively, Troy, this is a funny stat. Defensively last year, where did Ohio State rank in passing yardage allowed per game? In the Big Ten.
In the Big Ten?
Yes.
So you want me to give a Big Ten ranking?
Passing yardage allowed per game defensively. Ohio State. Big Ten.
Yeah, for the Big Ten. Big Ten or nationally?
Big Ten.
8th.
14th. They were last. They give up over 300 yards per game.
Because every team had to throw against them because they were annihilating them.
That's definitely part of it. Part of it, too, is their number one corner I never honestly even believed in, Shaun Wade. He got torched by any real number one receiver that was thrown his way, and not just Clemson, Alabama, but any guy who had real talent. He just proved that he couldn't, he's in the NFL now, but there's a reason why he was not a first-round, second-round guy. They did not have that guy last year at cornerback, which typically Ohio State does, but they did not last year, and it proved to kill them against Alabama in the title game. So, again, it's a nitpicky thing where Shaun Wade's an NFL corner. He's going to get killed against Devontae Smith. He's going to get killed against Jalen Waddle. He's going to get killed against Clemson's number one wideout.
So why is he going to get killed, though, youngster, if he's an NFL cornerback? He should be able to at least shut him down. I'm just being devil's advocate. If you're an NFL cornerback, why are these guys going to kill you? Because they're NFL receivers? Well, you're an NFL cornerback.
Well, but
so if you're going to be
there are cornerbacks that get crushed every Sunday.
Well, that's what I'm saying, though. He shouldn't be getting killed if you're that. I'm just being that devil's advocate. If you're an NFL cornerback prospect going against an NFL top 10 draft pick, you want to prove your point. Well, here you go.
Right.
Go up against Waddle and shut him down.
Right.
And that's the thing in the NFL. We talk about these guys. He's an NFL caliber cornerback. Guess what? It depends on the system you play. Some guys can play bump and run. Some guys can play zone. Some guys can play man. It all depends on where you go in the NFL. You look at all the movement in free agency. You're a bust at one place. You go to another place. Man, you look like a superstar because you fit well in the system. Oh, my God, youngster, going back to Tom Allen in Indiana. If that is the thing, play a system. Okay, go back to where you're going to go. Just go back.
Ohio State's corners, again, it's a nitpicky thing, but they don't necessarily have 2 first-round corners like they have had in the past. That's kind of my point. So, again, Ohio State this year, there's a reason why they might be ranked 4th nationally. Yeah, they are. And this is the reason why they're ranked 4th. Their secondary is really good. It's not ridiculously good. The running back room, it's really good, but there's kind of a question mark. C.J. Stroud's going to be really good, but he's not going to be Justin Fields level good. Ohio State's the most talented, the best Big Ten team, but they can lose 2 games and not appear in the Big Ten title game. That happens in sports all the time. There's no reason why you would pick, in my opinion, against Ohio State in any game they play this year, looking at the schedule. But that doesn't mean they're going 12-0. And it's these
go over the schedule
things.
Quick.
Why?
Yep, go over it, youngster. Go over it.
So week 1 at Minnesota, Again, that's a tougher game. Should Ohio State win by 17? Yeah, they should. But it's a harder game, and it's week 1.
We'll see if I can pick the spread on that pick next or whenever. The next week or 2 weeks?
Next week. Actually, September 2nd. So that's next Thursday.
We might have to record early. You better get your work in line. I'm giving you a better schedule to record shows.
Yeah, I will let you know on that after today's show. Week 2, home against Oregon. Oregon's ranked 11th in the country. So, again, it's 2 tougher games to start. That's not an easy start for C.J. Stroud's collegiate career.
No, but, I mean, be honest, though, youngster. They should be Minnesota, and they should be 2-0 after 2 weeks. Yes.
They should be 3-0 after Tulsa, 4-0 after Akron, 5-0 at Rutgers, 6-0 home against Maryland, 7-0. This is the toughie on their schedule is at Indiana.
So you're just blown by Rutgers? You don't think Rutgers can beat Ohio State?
I don't even know if Rutgers. Yeah, Rutgers can. I'll say they can because, again, Ohio State got killed by Purdue a few years ago. So, yeah, Rutgers
You know what, youngster? I was being sarcastic, but now I think about it. Can you imagine if Rutgers beats Ohio State and I just made that comment?
What was the chance that Purdue clearly beat Ohio State by whatever it was, 17, 20 points a few years ago?
0.001%.
I mean, so it happens. They lose to Iowa by 30. Like, it happens.
Is that the game they walk out of the tunnel and they're like, it's Rutgers football and we can just blow these guys out?
Maybe.
I mean, I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer on your Buckeyes, youngster. But your team every year has that one game. They may not lose it every year, but every year your team has that game where they're on the brink of embarrassment by a bottom dweller.
I think part of it is how they recruit. It's not guys that fully 100%. They can believe in Ryan Day, but what they're really believing in is being the guy at Ohio State and becoming a top 5 pick at any position.
Yep.
Like that's how they recruit. So not to say that Ryan Day doesn't look for guys that fit in a specific spot.
He doesn't, youngster. Go over the star rating. You know how much I care about stars. But just go over the star rating.
They have 3 3-stars for a reason, though.
Oh, yeah, they have 3 3-stars.
but they have those guys for
probably because those 3 3-stars begged to go to Ohio State. I would imagine. That is my thing, though, youngster. Do you think that Ryan Day is actually even looking at the 3-star page? No. Ryan Day has a friend of a friend of a friend who's got a 3-star recruit, and the guy says, look at this guy. Look at this guy.
Right.
That guy is not even looking at the 4-star page, youngster. It's all 5-star page. I'm going after all these guys. And you know what?
So many.
More power to them. But more power to them. You have earned the right as an Ohio State Buckeye to go do that. That's the way the program's been. You've talked about it. Ryan Day doesn't even open up the 3-star page. Those 3 stars are friends of the program, and Ryan Day is giving that guy a favor. But that 3-star that he recruited could be a Hall of Famer in the NFL.
Yeah.
If he went to a team where he could play, and now he's going to go to Ohio State, and that star matters at Ohio State. That's my problem with Ohio State, youngster. That star behind your name as a high school senior matters. It matters. It really does to the boosters. That's what they want.
Initially, I would agree with that. I don't necessarily think that in camp.
So you got a guy, though, that he's a 3-star, and you've got 4 or 5 stars ahead of you, where you're not now going to play till you're a junior when you could have went to well, let's say Northwestern, and you could have played for 2 years and honed your skills, but the allure of Ohio State was so great. And I'm not saying that people lie to recruits, but this is, I mean, I just don't, I'm just an old school guy. I mean, I don't know if I told you, youngster, Marquette was where I wanted to go. And I could have played soccer at Marquette. But why would I have wanted to sit on the bench for 3 years?
No, yeah.
I wanted to play.
Right, I get it.
I wanted to go to Marquette. The Marquette had a really good D1 national program. Coach said, yeah, come on, you can be a walk-on as a freshman, but you're going to, why would I want to do that? I want to play.
Yeah.
And if you're a 3-star recruit, there's no NFL scout that is sitting here going, you know what? Look at that high school senior that's a 3-star recruit. In 4 years, we're going to draft that guy in the first round. No, they're not doing that.
You win the job. You have to win the job and prove yourself.
So why wouldn't I want to go play somewhere and hone my skills? I just don't understand it.
No, I agree.
A lot of it, too. And again, youngster, a lot of it is, and I dealt with it with coaching, a lot of it is parents. A lot of it is pressure from parents. It's from But as a coach, you know, when I coached high school, I was telling my players, they're getting recruited, look at your playing opportunity. Are you going to sit on the bench? Do you have to redshirt? Are you going to be on the roster? What's going on? Look at the whole realm of what you want to do. It's great. You want to go play at this school because it's prominent? Great. Go ahead. You want to walk around campus with your jersey because I'm on the Ohio State Buckeye football team. I was the king of my high school team. I'm going to go back home and be like Rudy. I go back to Rudy. I'm on the team, but I'm not playing. I'm on the team, but I'm not playing. No, you're not on the team. You're not playing on Saturday. You got me real worked up today about this, youngster. You really do.
I don't even know what
I'm off.
I mean, I know what we're talking about. But...
We are talking about the wide receivers, the 7 of them that are sitting there. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Like if I was 7th on the depth chart at Ohio State, this is what I'm. So I'll make it quick. I'm 7th on the depth chart at Ohio State, but I'm an NFL prospect. But I'm not going to play till I'm a junior, and I have one breakout year, and I'm going to be a 3rd-round draft pick. Okay, great. You're going to play in the NFL. You're going to make your money. But what if I went to Pittsburgh? I'll say Pittsburgh because I live there. You would be the stud at Pittsburgh, and you'd play for 4 years. Now, you got to make sure they have a quarterback, right, to get you the ball. You got to make sure that you fit in the offense. But I think a lot of times these 5-stars go to Ohio State, Clemson, Alabama because of the allure that I'm great and I'm going to go be great there. But then I told you how recruiting works. They're going to next year there's going to be a 5-star better than you, and all of a sudden now you are 7th on that depth chart. That's all I'm saying. These guys need to have better counseling when they're in high school about what they want to do.
The reality is that you hear of all these stories of Michael Thomas and you play your junior year and you have a ridiculous season and you're a 1st-round pick and you make all this money and you're only playing 1 year, but you're at Ohio State and you're getting the best training and you're getting the quote-unquote best training, best coaching, best this, best that. And, you're the wide receiver at Ohio State. Okay, 1st-round pick. You're the stud left tackle at Wisconsin. Okay, you're automatically getting drafted day 1 or 2. Like, it's just what you hear about and read all the time. And it's a reality. And Ohio State does go either 12-0 or 11-1 and win the Big Ten every year and get to the college football playoff and occasionally win the national title. Or you're playing Clemson, you're playing Alabama, you're on TV more, scouts get to see you more. So some kids, it stops right there. You don't even get to the thought of, I could play at Pitt for 4 years and be the star, but I have to worry about the quarterback. I have to worry about this. I have to, it's just, I have a scholarship offer from Ohio State. Okay, I'm going. Because one day, maybe, hopefully, I work my ass off and I get to start for 1 year for 12 games, and if I make it, then boom, I'm in the NFL. Boom, done, over, story, done. I make my million. Like, that's it for some of these kids. I'm with you. I agree with you. I'd rather go to Pitt and be the star for 4 years. But some kids are willing to perfectly sit there for 2 years and just wait. And still work their tail off because you have to if you're actually going to make it.
Now the nice thing that will contradict what I'm saying and what you're saying is, if I'm a 5-star recruit wide receiver as a freshman, I probably get some deals. But as I get pushed down the depth chart, now I'm not going to make that money. But as a freshman, I'm going to go to the Broadway Chevy in Green Bay is a place that I trust for vehicle purchases. I'll put it that way. So a Chevy dealer, I'm a 5-star recruit. I'm a wide receiver. You know, hey, yeah, come here. We'll give you $10,000 to be in our commercial. There you go. You made $10,000 as a freshman. Oh, now next year, hey, do you want to renew the commercial stuff? Well, you know what? You didn't play as a freshman, and now there's this better guy coming in. So we're going to give him the $10,000, and you know what? Go down to the buy here, pay now car lot, and they'll give you $100. They'll give you $100. I mean, again, I am real excited, youngster, about 3 years now on this show about likeness money, because we're going to hear a lot of stuff, and it's going to be fun. Oh, it's going to be great. All right, let's go to the defense. I mean, we're going 2 hours on this show, and I got stuff to do.
We got to the defense. I was already talking about the schedule. You forgot. The 2-game stretch really outside of week 1 and 2, Minnesota and Oregon. Middle of the year at Indiana is probably their hardest game of the year. And then right after that is home to Penn State. So that's back-to-back weeks. I don't know what that is, 8, 9, whatever it is. And then at Michigan to close the year. So that'll be another 30-point win. So
30.
It's not really the Buckeye fan in me talking. That's just been the reality recently.
30 points? You're being generous.
Yeah, exactly. Unfortunately, that's the way it is. I wish it wasn't that way, but
all right.
It is.
So, I mean, what else we got, youngster? We got to rock and roll.
What do you have, Big Ten? Here's our – yes, it is. It's been way too long. But what do you have, Ohio State, Wisconsin? Big Ten title game?
It's actually not that long. It's only an hour and a half. This is going to fall in the middle of our Go Big shows. I mean, it really is. We've had much longer.
We have.
I really do believe that Wisconsin's going to win the West. I really do, and I'm not coming from a Badger homer standpoint.
I agree.
I know. I read, and again, living in Green Bay, Wisconsin now, I can read all this and the Wisconsin writers, and Mertz has to prove it. Nobody's giving them the pass like you and I are. It was a COVID year last year, and there was a stretch in the middle of the season last year where Wisconsin got hit with that COVID, and Mertz couldn't practice, and that hurt his development. He had to sit in his dorm room. He couldn't do anything, couldn't be in the meetings. Yeah, you can talk to the coach, but you're not in the room. That really, I think, stunted his development last year. It really did. And the defense, you know what, okay, it wasn't as great. I just love people that want to rip it down, but Paul Chryst has proven he will have a top 10 defense. And he will do it with 3-star recruits. He'll do it. And offensively, running back, okay, you got a little bit of concern. But they return. You go back, look at the receivers that we talked about. Yeah. Mertz is getting back. Probably,
they've got two real receivers, a real tight end, a real good running back. They'll be fine.
They've got an NFL tight end youngster, and they've got 2 receivers that could be number 3s on NFL rosters. They don't have all pro receivers in the NFL, but they have they have talent on the outside. They have talent at tight end. The offensive line is going to be good, as it always is, And if Mertz is now in camp and sitting across from Chris watching film and developing this kid, that offense, they're not going to be an Ohio State offense. They're not going to score 40 a game. But if that Badger team can score, well, they've proven they can because they run over teams.
Right.
That offense is going to be good, and that defense, I think, is going to be much improved. And I just believe that Wisconsin's going to win the West. I think it is back to normal. Ohio State, Indiana, could they pull the upset against? Yeah, they could. Penn State, like you said, maybe they could, but at that time, at the end of the year, maybe it's not enough because Penn State could have already lost 2 or 3 in the conference. So I think you're going to see an Ohio State-Wisconsin Big Ten title game, and you're going to see Ohio State beat Wisconsin once again. I mean, I'm just used to it as a Badger fan. But I told you my expectation, youngster, as a Badger fan. My expectation is Big Ten title game every year. That is what I expect. That is how good that program should be to get there. And then every once in a while, they will catch lightning in a bottle, and maybe 1 out of every 5 years, they'll beat Ohio State. That's how I feel on the Badger side of it. Because we just went through it. Ohio State has more talent. They literally have more talent at every position. But the Badgers are going to go play, and they're going to play, and they're going to play. But even when they have good teams, they lose 52-10.
By the way, I think I'd rather have Wisconsin's offensive line, tight end, and I'm sure certain defensive positions. Not off the top of my head, I don't know. But offensive line, tight end, edge Wisconsin, in my opinion. That's just me.
You know what, though, youngster? Do you remember when Ohio State went to Camp Randall a couple years ago? I was still in Pennsylvania, and we gave the edge to the Badger line, and they got demolished. I mean, they did.
Ohio State's D-line this year is going to be really, really good again.
But every once in a while, it'll be that game. And, again, it's a 60-minute football game. You only got to be better for that one game.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. As a Badger fan, I better see Bucky Badger Red in the title game every year. Because in the West Division, yes, I'm not going to have people say, well, you play in the weakest part of the Big Ten. You should. You know what? That's why my expectations are, yes, we should win it every year. And when they don't, I'm disappointed.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm wrong in saying that as a Badger fan for what Paul Chryst has proven they can do. Anything less than a Big Ten title game is a disappointing year. It really is. And they're not going to beat Ohio State year in and year out, nor will they compete with Ohio State year in and year out, but there will be that year where they catch the lightning in a bottle, and they beat Ohio State.
I think this year they could compete.
It all depends on Graham Mertz. It all depends on Graham Mertz.
Like you were talking about, I think that things do click this year for a number of reasons. I think the running game is better, more established with Berger. I think the offensive line is good again. I think he's got pass catchers available to him this year. I think he's going to be available. He knows he's a starter for a full year off season. He can practice, talk, watch film with coaches. I think it all clicks at Wisconsin. I'd still favor Ohio State by closely double digits at this point, but I think Wisconsin legitimately can compete. I think that's how it plays out.
Yeah, I think we're in agreement. I mean, if it was Ohio State, Wisconsin in the Big Ten title game, I would probably say Ohio State by 8.5. Okay. That would be my early line on that game. That's what I think Vegas would put it at.
Yeah.
And now we're talking about an August line for a Big Ten championship game in January.
Right. But when you're looking at the number 4 team and the number 12 team playing. It shouldn't be this ridiculous line.
No, but I mean 8.5. I mean, you look at some other 4-12 matchups. That's usually like a 3.5 line, maybe a 5-point line. Ohio State is clearly head and shoulders, youngster, above every other team in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
I mean, fans will argue, rabid fans of Michigan will say, this is our year. No, it's not. You got Jim Harbaugh, and you're not good. You're not good. And Northwestern's going to say we're better than Wisconsin. Okay, well, you know what? Yeah, you've proven you can beat them, but no, not this year. It's just the reality is Ohio State is head and shoulders above everybody else, name recognition, and now you have likeness money. So you look at the recruiting class, you gave the number, 2 in the country? Well, yeah. No shit, Sherlock. If I want to make money, I'm going to go to Ohio State because they got a big booster program, and I can get the money for likeness. I'm not going to get the same money at Wisconsin that I'm getting at Ohio State. It is a financial thing now. And so, like you said, eventually it may pan out. But if I'm a kid that wants money and I'm a top recruit, I'm going to the schools that have name recognition so I can get money while I'm playing. But eventually, like I said, back to my point, is when they fall on that depth chart and those sponsors say, well, you know what? 2 years ago, you were the hot shit. Now you're number 6 on the depth chart. Yeah, we're going to give it to this top prospect coming out of Green Bay, Wisconsin, Ashwaubenon High School, where I used to coach. This guy's a 5-star recruit quarterback. Guess what? You're 4 on the depth chart now. See you later. That's where the problem's going to come up, and that's why I've said it, 10 times? I can't wait for 3 years from now, youngster, because this whole likeness thing is going to be fun.
Do you think Ohio State's more susceptible to a scandal now, and they're going to fall sooner rather than they would have because of name, image, likeness?
Well, they might already have one. We're talking about juniors coming out of high school. How do you get into Ohio State?
So do you think that Ohio State's going to crumble eventually because of something like that?
I don't want to say they're going to crumble, youngster, but I think you're going to have a lot of interrogation by the NCAA on admission standards. Not only Ohio State, but Alabama, Clemson, the top schools. Because now these top recruits let's be real, they're recruiting kids in 9th grade now. This is a 9th grade kid that's not fully in his body, and Nick Saban is out there watching this kid. And he's talking to mom and dad. And mom and dad are going, oh, my God, Nick Saban's talking to my kid. He's in 9th grade. Well, let's get him on steroids, and let's figure out how to get his GPA up, and let's figure out how to skew his SAT scores and get him into Alabama. Because I think we're going to see a lot more admission scandals for getting into the schools than we ever seen before. And that's why when I look at a school like Northwestern that has proven they can win with their admission standards, they hold true to it. And now watch. 6 months from now, it's going to be a Northwestern admission scandal we talk about.
Right. We will.
I'm just saying, these top schools, I think we're going to see it 2-3 years from now. How did this kid get in?
I don't think you're crazy for that.
All right, we got to end the show. Anything else?
No. Next week's show, I agree with you. I think Ohio State over Wisconsin would be the pick as of August 27th. Next week's show, we will recap any Big Ten games that happened. Illinois, Nebraska, we're looking at you tomorrow on Saturday. So we will recap games, and we will preview week 1. We'll see what the schedule holds for us, and if that means a Facebook show, whatever it is, we'll figure it out. But week 1, Big Ten, do not miss. That's going to be fantastic.
All right. For the youngster, I'm the old man. Hope you enjoyed the show on the Interpeak Coffee Studio line today. Thank you for viewing us on The Grooving Truth. We'll get back at you next week. Have a good week, everyone.